Greetings. I am the doctor. The temperature wasn't awful earlier this week, so I decided to take a walk in one of the local parks. Spring just started, so it's not the pretty part of spring yet, still all melting snow and last year's dead plants. But this too is spring. The creek seemed deeper than usual. Not a great deal deeper. The big snowmelt was a couple weeks ago, but still different from when I'm usually here in summer. I always enjoy these little runoff streams that feed the main creek. Grass underwater has always been a visual fascination. Maybe I once read a story about a fairy kingdom that was just like the regular world, but underwater. I don't know what was making those bubbles. I was hoping for a frog, but no luck. There are always birds, like this red-winged blackbird that was having a conversation with another one a couple trees over. While he only has a yellow stripe on his wing and not a proper red spot, I know red-winged blackbirds have various patterns depending on age and/or season, so my guess is that this is a young male, as was the one he was talking to, or possibly having a territorial dispute with. This is what the marshes around here sound like. There was a robin, which we don't really trust as a sign of spring since we see them pretty early around here. There was a chickadee who refused to hold still. There was this small predatory bird. I'm not sure what species. Northern goshawk is my best guess. I am most pleased with this woodpecker. She could be a downy woodpecker or a hairy woodpecker. The species look quite similar. I'm leaning towards hairy. I only know she's a female because the males have a bright red spot on the back of the head. I don't see woodpeckers that often, so this was quite special.
And after my walk, I took some samples home, which I will be going over with our friends Princess Posy and Sunflower. And after a week of researching the bits I brought home, I have concluded that I'm not very good at plant identification. I know that these are conifers, but what kind? I do not know. Let's bring it in a little closer so I can show you what I brought. This, I am quite certain, is a pine, but what species? I do not know. I know what it is not, because if you look closely, you can see that each one of these little nubbins here has 2 needles coming out of it. So I know it is not an eastern white pine, because the nubbins will have 5 needles coming out, but only 2 It could be a red pine. It could be all sorts of other kinds of pine, because many have similar needle lengths, similar size cones. Now, there is something quite fun about pine cones. See, when I found them, they looked like this, like a proper little cone, when I picked them up from the muddy ground. And it turns out that, cone shape is caused by moisture. So I took them home, and after a couple of days, they dried out and opened up. And if you get them wet again, as I did here for demonstration purposes, they will close up again fairly quickly, in about an hour or so. Ira, can you show that clip? There. I soaked the pine cone in water and then took photographs once every 20 minutes for a couple of hours. And as you can see, it goes from open to closed. Now, if you want to use pine cones that you found in crafts, you will need to clean them first. You can either use dish soap and a brush and scrub them like dishes, or soak them in vinegar and water for, half an hour or so. And then in both cases, you rinse them off and then put them in the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for maybe half an hour, and then let them sit out and dry fully. This is to kill any bugs or bacteria in them. I did not bother with mine. These are just going to be tossed back outside. Now, back to identifications. This one, well, it could be anything. It could be a short-needled pine, perhaps a spruce, perhaps a fir. I know one of those species has white stripes underneath the needles, and this one is green all around. But that doesn't really help. It also has these very interesting, very long cones. Let's get that on. Why can't I get that under the camera correctly? There we go. Has these long, thin cones, and I thought that I would be able to easily identify what they are from this, but no luck. The only one that I'm absolutely certain of are these tiny little ones. Oops. And what was interesting about these tiny little pine cones is that I didn't find them under a conifer. So I put a query into my internet for tiny pine cones, but not. And it turns out that these little guys are from a black alder tree. They simply have similar shaped structures once the seeds are gone. And this shows sometimes trees have female cones that hold the seeds and male cones that hold the pollen. So Overall, I learned about alder trees. That was interesting. But I'm still not very good at identifying different types of trees. Well, something to work on in the future. Until next time, stay hydrated.